And you want to know what's funny is that before I was pretty good at karaoke. I was a really good singer, and that was actually
self-proclaimed.
That was actually like my that was going to be my second act.
What was your go-to song?
George Michael. Or Wham, Everything She Wants. You can look it up on YouTube if you want. It's on there.
I already know.
And-
Can we get a riff real quick?
I can't sing anymore. That's the whole point of this sad story is that because I got punched in the throat, I can't sing anymore.
Oh, this dude had to pull out Wham of all.
Oh, man.
Did
And
you
so
watch
it's
the
like,
Wham
yeah,
documentary, by the way?
What are you going to do? No, I didn't.
You know you're getting locked up. You know you're a good human. You've just been in bondage to the addiction, and it drives you to do things you don't want to do. There's always going to be a lesson to learn, even if there's no blessing. Now I just want to help and give back, be a part of the solution as opposed to the problem. I'm going to interview professionals. I'm an ex-convict. It's a play on words. Let's have fun with this. This is the Pros and Cons Podcast. First of all, what's up, fam? First podcast. My brother, my friend, an amazing athlete, an amazing human, big in his community, helps the kids, builds people's lives. UFC vet, Bellator vet, bare knuckle boxing, heavyweight world champion, Joey Beltran. Can we give it up for Joey? Yeah, Big J. So, I just want to kind of go off the cuff on your journey and really talk about, obviously a little bit of a bio on, where you were from and, how it was growing up and where you were born and, kind of the segues into getting into what you got into and some of those legendary stories of you whooping on some of the homies in the hood and how you kind of got that lure. Like, Joey's not going to join your prison gang, but you can go try to see if he wants to. Yeah, Joey, so why don't you just tell us, where you grew up and, kind of those bullet points for us.
All right, cool. Yeah, man, I was born in Tri-City Hospital and raised in Carlsbad, California. Really, I mean, honestly, like, my first memory of life is going with my family, going with my mom and my sister to Big Bear, which was
you can move this too, Joey. There you go.
Going to Big Bear, which is a old school grocery store, and then coming home and the house being empty. Basically, my dad. We're a little more rewind. My dad had 5 previous children from his first marriage that were all living with us, and so it was like early on. It was like the Brady Bunch. Like we had a grip load of kids in the house. Anyways, but we came home that day from the store, and he dipped. He had bounced, and so that was like
For good.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. That's my first
How old were
vivid
you?
memory. 4 years old.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so that's like that's when life began. And then shortly after that, like I spent a lot of time because my mom was a single mom raising us. That I spent a lot of time at my grandpa's house, which was right in the heart of Pozole, which is a very, very active.
Shout out P-Town. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's a very, very active fucking barrio back then, and so I definitely saw some things growing up and was around and exposed to some things, and I used to oftentimes earlier in my life, like I used to hold a lot of resentments against my sister and stuff because of the stuff that I saw. But it wasn't until like later on in life when I realized like she was a kid too. Like she didn't know it. She was just a kid
and when you
too.
say stuff you saw, you mean like stuff cracking off in the neighborhood, domestic violence, gang violence.
Oh yeah,
Stuff within your family.
No, just like drugs and like yeah, mostly just drugs. Like I'll put it to you like this, like yeah, get real with you. First time I had a crystal meth pipe offered to me when I was 14. I knew exactly how to do it because I had seen it done so many times growing up. And so so I saw plenty of that, plenty of just fucking dudes just smacking their girls, just bad, horrible stuff that is, just part of the territory, and running around with like the gang members, and just kind of like looking up to them in a horrible way. But yeah, like those were the cool guys, for sure. And so that's early on in life. That's kind of how that went. And then it wasn't until I was about like I remember I begged and would cry and beg my mom to let me go boxing. So now, what it was is some of the older kids in my apartment complex in Carlsbad, they were always going to train boxing at this place called. They would just say, "We're going to go to Frank's.
Yeah.
We're going to Frank's." And so I go. I want to go to Frank's too. And Frank, a gentleman by the name of Frank Serino, dear good friend of mine, still to this day, he had basically out of his house, out of his garage, it was called the Join Hands Save a Life boxing team. And what he did was he would just train all the kids for free, train all the kids in boxing, keep them off the streets, try to keep them off the streets, try to keep them out out of the bad stuff. And so,
shout out to Coach Frank, man, what a legend down there in the barrio of Carlsbad, which has been gentrified. It's not much of a barrio anymore. Shout out to Lola's, who's still holding on to some of the last bit of what's left down there. Besides $1 million, $2 million homes, $3 million, but. Yeah, man, that's Joey. I remember just the lure. I heard about that when I was a kid too, like because he was the only coach down there, really.
Yeah.
And it was and still is in a lot of standpoints a very small barrio compared to some of the bigger neighborhoods over in Oceanside, which had their own little boxing enclaves. And I just know that was an escape for a lot of us. But I think you said it best on the documentary. Not every fighter is a drug addict or an alcoholic, but there are a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics that are fighters. I love that one. So morphing into kind of like, junior high school, when you were just scrapping in school.
Yeah.
You started knowing that you could handle yourself a little bit, maybe in neighborhoods, street fights.
Yeah, basically, I mean, just, I got. It wasn't fully expelled. Well, it was put to me nicely by Valley Junior High School. Like, sir, I got within the first 3 months of school at 7th grade. They're like, we're either going to expel you or you can do an interdistrict transfer and go to Oceanside. I was like, all right, cool. Then I went to Oceanside, and that was hard. That was terrible because right away it's like the kid from Carlsbad, so then they would
Oh, you're getting tested.
Yeah,
there's a big
yeah.
Mexicano from Carlsbad, Oceanside, I always said, and I said it in my doco too, it's more neighborhoods, a lot of more tougher dudes there. And so growing up in Carlsbad, you kind of, if you wanted to be crazy, you had to be extra crazy just so they go, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was definitely like, got smacked a couple times, but I did some smacking back, a few for sure. But more importantly is like I was like kind of got like spooked by not necessarily like the people there, but more so like my mom, and like fuck man, I didn't want to get in more trouble, and so I kind of really just like flew under the radar when I was there. I just like unless somebody like came up and really got in my face, I just just chilled, and got real like went to school, just tried to get. And what's funny is like, it's like in Carlsbad, I was a bad guy. I was bad. Like I got like I said, borderline was about to be expelled. Right. But over there, man, they had real bad kids. So it was like me cracking jokes or having fun in class was like nothing. That was like normal. Okay, you can chill. It's like there's people like. I remember like, throwing chairs across the toilet, like cussing out teachers, like spitting in teachers' faces and stuff. Like, there's like, okay, they got real kids. They have real troubled kids they can deal with. Like, Joey can be fine, just go to school and chill. So that was cool. And then I went back to Carlsbad in high school, started trying to play football, and unfortunately, like, that's when I tore my ACL in freaking freshman year of football.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so that started things off with a bang. But my mom still had her job with the school district because they still had a bilingual program at the school district. So she was able to get my knee fixed through insurance, and it was all gravy. And so sophomore year, I played football, and then I started wrestling, and that's when really like things really changed. I have to give mad respect and a huge shout out to Coach Mark Nelson from Carlsbad High School.
Yeah, Coach Nelson, he was
Yeah.
gnarly, all just dipping his lip, breathing heavy, was sweating even though it was 50 degrees outside in December. And yeah, dude, Nelson was one of those. He ran it hot, man, and God rest his heart. He's a legend, man.
Oh yeah, he's doing really good too. Actually, yeah, he's doing really good. I just saw him recently, so it's very cool.
Yeah,
And
you're gonna have to edit that out. I said God rest his heart. Coach Nelson's still alive.
No, Coach Nelson looks good. He looks better than he ever did in high school. He lost a bunch of weight. He's like moving.
He
around.
probably won't see us anyways,
He's
but
moving around all like nimble.
yeah,
and stuff.
dude, because
Crazy.
Coach Nelson was just one of those dudes in high school. Whether you wrestled or not, you knew who he was.
Yeah.
You didn't want to push his buttons. And who's the other wrestling coach? Little short, stocky dude.
Frazier.
Yeah, Coach Frazier too. Just something about the pedigree of wrestlers. I mean, look at some of the best fighters in the world. What do they have a pedigree in? Or whether it's high school or collegiate.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But yeah, so wrestling and I kind of want to touch base on, I know, I graduated. Joey was 8th going into 9th grade, and I'm 96. He's class of 2000. So Joey was a good friends with a kid whose older brother was my good friend. So I watched this young crop of kids that all played ball together and wrestled together. Big WWF fans at the times, not to be confused now with WWE, but we'd all be at a house where those two friends of ours, there's my buddy Justin's little brother, Josh, and his buddies. We would just have a blast, but it was the house that you can just get away with murder at.
Yeah.
So where do the kids go? Or they can sneak a beer or smoke a cigarette or weed or anything else for that matter. And but big shot, rest in peace, Bob, and even and Sue, let us have fun. But yeah, those are some fond memories at the old Danbury residence.
Oh my God, craziness. Yeah, so then high school was really, I got really, really good at wrestling. And I really, really just loved just how if I won, all the accolades, all the pats on the backs, all the praise came to me. And if I lost, everything fell on me. It was all up to me. And I really fell in love with that. Just that one-on-one, just a one-on-one fight, like fight aspect of things. I still kind of play football. I definitely played football, but I wasn't that good. And I was like, whatever. But I just did it because my homies did, and it was fun.
It was camaraderie. You were still a
Exactly.
big body. They still, yeah.
Yeah. And so then senior year, I tore my other ACL. Oh man! But by that time, they had eliminated the bilingual program at the elementary school. Because there's no longer Mexicans living in California or something. And so my mom didn't have that good job anymore, and I never got it repaired. And funny or not, to this day, it's never been repaired. Like, I went and fought and did all that stuff without an ACL on my right knee. Anyway, so I still tried. Like, I remember I saw Nelson randomly, like in a parking lot at the mall, like so random. I ran up to his car and I started talking to him, begged him, cried, like literally cried, like please let me wrestle, like I'll sign a waiver. I have to do this. This is my senior year. I have to do it. So they let me do it, and I'm like, well, we'll give you a chance to wrestle for your spot. So it's like a challenge match with another guy on the team, and I won the spot. And then but I couldn't run because my ACL was torn. So So it's basically, it was like, if I could toss the guy in the first minute, then I would win. Great. And if I didn't, then I'd be in like a whole world of
Yeah,
a
you had
whole
to go
world of-
before the ACL started barking at you. Yeah.
So like that senior year was rough, but I did it, and so then after that, like that, there went like all plans or aspirations of doing anything in college, athletic wise and stuff, and so I just kind of just like slid off. Oh, here's my old friends, the guys that I grew up with in the barrio, in the hood and stuff, and so I just fell right back in with them, and it was, yeah, man. I picked off right where I left in junior high, because it's like the way it was crazy, because in junior high, remember how I told you how junior high when I got kicked out of school, coincidentally, like 7th grade, that was the year that all my friends got jumped in, like Crooks and Scrappy, like they all got jumped in, like right at 7th grade.
Yeah.
And like coincidentally, I got kicked out of school, so I was not around for that. Like I already got put on lockdown, like tight lockdown by my mom, so I missed all that. So like I said, fast forward, now I'm 18 years old, and they're all jumped in, running hot, doing their thing, and I was just like tagging along, doing my thing too, and I ended up getting in trouble and had to go to jail. Like I literally got arrested freaking a month after my 18th birthday.
Right.
And so then I went to jail. Spent 4 months at East Mesa, which is a little trustee camp.
Yeah, East Mesa. Camp Snoopy.
I know, Camp Snoopy. I was like, this is the best.
Are you going to work in the kitchen? Are you going to clean up the
laundry?
yard?
I was laundry.
Laundry.
Oh my God. So, and then when I came out, I was just like, well, man, like, I have a felony on my record now. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna do anything. Like, oh, screw it. And then like it just, it's funny, but it's not funny. Is when I was in jail, everyone was talking about like how great and how much fun like smoking crystal meth was. I was like, oh, all right, this sounds fun. And yeah, it was fun for a little while for sure.
Yeah, it's fun till it isn't.
Yeah.
That's what it is, as I like to say. Yeah.
And like, yeah, man. So that just like shot me off on a rocket ship lasted about like, I would say about 3 years, where I was just running around, and it was like, I always made sure to say, like, it wasn't like I was hanging out with the gangsters, like trying to be a gangster, trying to be hard. It was just like they had the drugs that I liked.
Yeah.
Keep it real. Like,
I mean, I hung out in the same neighborhood just a little bit before you did. And by the time you were hanging out, I was already on my first prison term. But yeah, man, some of the homies I grew up with, most of them are dead now. But yeah, I mean, that's where you went and hung out. And, we might not have been jumped in. We were just crazy enough to kick it.
Yeah. And shit popped off. Well, we were down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah. And so that lasted for a while. And then, like, yeah. And, oh, yeah. And so then I remember, like, I was thinking, like, 19, 20, I think it was 19 or 20, something like that. And I was really, like getting all puffed up in the chest. And I want to be down. I want to be from the neighborhood. I don't want to just hang out at the park. I don't want to just kick it. I don't want to just be like, no, I want to be from the hood. I want to be jumped in. And then, this older homie by the name of Psycho was like, he was kind of like, I can't remember the exact conversation, but long story short, like, he told me, like, it was real disrespectful in the moment. And then I always remember my other homie, my road dog, Woody, he's like, you gotta fuck him up right now. You're looking real bad. You have to fuck him up right now. I was like, oh, all right. And then call him out. We went out in the middle of the street, whoop, 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 and it didn't really work out so well for him. And but
Duh.
but one of the cool things, one of the awesome, I don't say awesome, but one of the really cool things about that night, I remember, is that I had him on the ground, I was whooping his ass, and then I started getting kicked in the head. So his the homies from his generation started kicking me in the head, boom, 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 and then my friends fucking went against, and they got the stop, and I was able to get up and run across the street. And
Where were you guys at? Were you at like Hypo Park?
Yeah. And so they later on got checked for that, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Makes sense.
Hypo Park, you guys, was
Hypo.
was stand for hypodermic needle, but Hypo Park was at the backside of Chase Field, Little League Field in Carlsbad. There's a little stretch of picnic tables and grass areas that was just right there in the barrio. So that's kind of where, at least at that time, it's not like that anymore, which is good. Don't get me wrong. But that's just kind of like that. It was just this little sliver of zone where shootings happened, stabbings, because a lot of the rival gangs would show up, knew where there's only one spot where really maybe one or two in the little square blocks radius of the barrio Carlsbad where the dudes hung out, where, you know, the other rival gangs would show up. But yeah. So Joey, after that, okay, so kind of segue into, give us some bullet points on leading up to kind of MMA, but even before that, like were you doing some TJ battles in Tijuana? Or?
Oh no. So basically, like, so kind of like the whole, like, so I was running around the gangs, stuff like that, and then I started dating this girl, and she's like, "You're not doing anything good with your life. Why don't you just move to New Jersey with me? Because I'm going to go to school in New York. You can move to New Jersey, and my dad will get you a job selling cars." Big Sal.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, you're right. I'm not doing anything. This gang member probably wants to kill me. That's what I was thinking in my head, whether you wanted to or not. I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I did. I went and I lived in New Jersey for a year and sold cars. And that was like started the adventure. And then after that, I moved to Hawaii. And I'm sorry. Rewind a little bit. When I was in New Jersey, I was living at a house with a bunch of college kids, and so I was like, God, these guys are idiots. Like, I can go to college. Like, if these guys are going to college, I can go to college. And so then I came back home, and I started going to school at Palomar Junior College. Went to school at Palomar. I actually played a season of football at Palomar and everything, and started getting the competitive juices flowing. And then I transferred to University of Hawaii. Academically, I didn't play any ball or anything. Academically, went to Hawaii. And then when I was out in Hawaii, that's when I started training MMA. It all happened literally like by chance. Like, I was waiting for my bus stop to go to school one day, and I looked over like, what the hell is that? I saw from across the parking lot, like, you could see the fence in the window, and like I walked in, like, oh shit, they had a full cage and everything. And I sat there, I watched the class the first day, and I went back, and then I did the free trial. I did the free trial. I met the owner of the gym, Dino Fernandez. It was called the Bull's Pen.
Yeah.
And
I know at that time, dude, you were weighing like.
Oh, I was big. I was 300, three bills for sure.
Yeah, 3 bills. Big J. That's what I'm always calling when you hear me yelling at some of the fights at corners. Always, Big J, let's go. Remember why you came.
Yeah. And so that was...
Still Big J, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, 230, what'd you fight at one point? 185?
Yeah, a couple times. That was
God bless you. Yeah, you look sick.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Bull's Pen.
Yeah, and so that's where I started training, and he liked me because I had wrestling, I had boxing experience. And so basically, he would let me train for free because I would help his big guys get ready for fights. And so that like really, what happened really when there was a paradigm shift in my brain was when we went to watch a fight at the Blaisdell Arena, and it's like solid size, like 7,000 people in that arena.
Blaisdell?
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's in Oahu.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. This was when you were over in Hawaii for a little bit.
And so then, like, watching people, my friends that I trained with on Wednesday, fight in front of thousands of people on a Saturday, I was like, oh, this is real. Like you could really do this. Like it became
Yeah.
something real. Like it wasn't just like a, like before I would just watch VHS tapes of UFC and just think like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I know I want to do. I know I want to do this. I just don't know how. And so that became real. And then when I came back home, because I dropped out, because of course nobody really goes to school in Hawaii. Mostly just go.
By the way, we love you, Hawaii. You know,
Oh, yeah.
obviously, everyone's in Hawaii. Warrior spirit. I love surfing. I love the ocean and just everything that the 808 embodies on all aspects, especially the hobbies that I love. Even combat sports. All the
Oh yeah.
all the badasses. Shout out to you guys in the 808. All the Hawaiian brothers and sisters.
Yeah. And so when I came back home, I was like, it was all like God's timing, man. Because I came back home and I was all motivated, but I didn't really have a team yet. And I started jogging. I would just go on jogs and workouts by myself. And I ran into another one of the homies, younger than me, Nick Trejo. And he's like, "Hey,
Yeah, what's up, Nick?
yeah,
Hope
you should
you're
come.
doing
You
good.
should come over to our gym. We have Jason Lambert. He just fought in the UFC. He's 2-0 in the UFC. You should come over and join the team." I was like, "Oh,
What?
hell yeah!" And it was at a karate studio in La Costa called Martial Arts International, but that's where the original North County Fight Club trained.
Right.
And I went over and joined. And it was like, oh my god! I always remember, like, I walked into the karate studio, and I went up to the guy at the front, and I was like, "I want to fight in the UFC. Can you help me?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right, sign up for the jiu-jitsu." He just signed me up. And
First
it's
of all,
so
pay
funny.
me.
It's so funny because, like, how many people, now I've worked in gyms for 17 years, how many people tell me that same line or something similar? I want to fight. And I just, like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you do, buddy. And, but I was serious. And I started going to jiu-jitsu. It was jiu-jitsu and then kickboxing 2 nights a week. And I started going to those classes, and I went there for a couple, like 2 months, and I started basically, for lack of better terms, like really going a little too hard, fucking up the normal people.
Yeah.
And then I got invited to team training. Team training was in the mornings, and so I started doing team training, and then I did that for another couple months, and then I'll always remember my boy hit me up on MySpace. That tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Hit me up on MySpace. He's like, hey, they're trying to find you. Jeff and Matt are trying to find you. They have a fight for you. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've only been doing this a few months. I don't know if I'm ready. And they're like, he's like, it pays $1,200. I was like, let's go. Like back then, that was a lot of money, man.
Heck yeah, man.
And
I'll take $1,200 now, anybody. I got bills to pay.
hell yeah. And so then, like, boom, that's what it was. I fought my first fight, and I lost the decision. But I just, like, I'll always remember. I always will remember that feeling of, like, it was super heavyweight because I was still 286 my first fight. And this guy was 265 with abs. I remember them.
Yeah, you're like, shoot.
And he hit me one time, boom, clean. And I felt my eye closing up, and I was like, in my head, I was like, well, fuck it. It's now or never. Here we go. And jumped in the fire and just started swinging, trading punches. And we were just trading punches in the middle of the cage. And I always remember, like, the feeling, everybody in the crowd going crazy, jumping up, and feeling the ground shake from the vibration of the yelling. And I went and sat down. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just.
The first break between first round 1 and 2 was when
Yeah.
it really dawned on you that you're like, I want to do this.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I'm
in.
This is great. I'll come back. I go back for that feeling every time.
I think that's a testament to your career, though, Big J, because, like, so many fights that I was with you on and fights that I wasn't, like, your ass needed to get cracked And then you woke up like, well, Joey's awake now, so here we go. That was just your style, man. Like, welcome to the wood chipper, people.
I know.
It's a big bald Mexican homie.
And so yeah, man.
How
So
did that first fight go?
I lost the decision.
Yeah, right on. But hey, it was like little
Yeah.
like little moral victory, if you
Oh,
will.
absolutely. Yeah, it was awesome.
And then so that was around what would you say?
2007.
Yeah, and then so I know. So let's kind of segue from there. Didn't you have some like weird backyard brawl in like Oklahoma or something like that?
Oh no, it wasn't backyard. It was
Actual. Okay, maybe
it was at a biker rally.
Right.
It was at a biker rally. They had a cage. Excuse me. Yeah, they had a cage in the middle of a biker rally, and yeah, it was crazy. Like we didn't fight till like 2 a.m, and it was like 100. No joke, it was like 115 degrees outside, dead horrible heat, and we fought, and I won. Thank God in the first round.
So how'd you get out there though? Was that during this same time span in like 2007?
No, that was a little bit later. That was like 2008, 2009. But yeah, that was Tracy Willis. I remember that guy. Yeah, and that was like, I remember I went on a good little streak. Like I won like 4 fights like within 6 months, and that really boom, 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 like got me set up to make that big jump into the UFC and stuff. But like it was. The cool thing is, like, I remember when right before I got started fighting, I wrote down all my goals and everything, and I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to be one of these guys that was going to be fighting on Gladiator Challenge or whatever small local shows, building up my record forever. Like, if I don't get to the big show in 3 years, then I'm done.
Yeah.
And if you look at my record, I made it 4 days shy of my 3-year mark into the UFC.
It's amazing when you have goals and you have a mental checklist of things that you want to tackle. You know, Joey, especially just knowing what you went through. You and I both gone through stuff together, both our own personal stuff and our own stuff together that we've, leaned on each other for. But I'll say this much, the testament to the beginning of your career, from your first, what was it, Strike Force Young Guns?
Yeah.
And I know you lost unanimous decision, but again, another moral victory. You take somebody all the way. I think that's the only thing I love and hate about fighting is you can knock someone out and you for surely win or choke them out or know that you just handled them all the rounds. But sometimes it's left to the judges. So, but that's also a good thing in the sense it could either keep you excited into the next one. But I know judging's always questioned too. But yeah, so from that, I know that. So from there, I think you did like 6-2 with Strikeforce.
No, Strikeforce was just a 1-fight deal, and then
Okay.
But predominantly, the most of my fights were with Total Combat.
That's right.
Remember, Total Combat was that big show that was always in San Diego. Like they had greats, like Dominic Cruz was a Total Combat champion. Like Wade Shipp, like just really, really solid local fight, solid local fight promotion. And they would have shows in Tijuana or shows in 4th and B. Remember that old concert venue?
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
That was right before I remember wanting to go see you down at one of those. And but I think it actually they like it was capacity as far as like fire marshals. You're only allowed to stuff so many people inside those smaller buildings. But one thing I do love too is the fact like you. When you segued into Bellator, how did that work? Did you have somebody making calls on your behalf?
Oh yeah. So I definitely had a really good management team, if you will, like the North County Fight Club. Like Manny Rodriguez helped me a lot. Matt Stansel early on, Jeff Clark. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. So the Bellator thing, like I fought. I think on the 4th ever Bellator show. Yeah, like that was right when
Who's that against? Sherman
Yeah,
Pendergrass.
yeah.
Not to be confused with Teddy Pendergrass.
Rest in peace, Sherman.
Yeah.
Um,
Rest
but
in
yeah,
peace.
yeah.
How did Sherman? Well,
Oh, I finished that one the first round.
no, I know, but you said he rest in peace.
Oh, I think he had a heart condition.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know. So you beat that one, and then your next appearance. What was this one? Who knows what Wikipedia? How smart they are, but what was it? Wes Combs
Oh yeah.
and the King of the Cage.
Yeah. So, excuse me, Wes Combs.
Did he end up fighting the big shows too?
He fought in the UFC definitely
Yeah, I was
right before I fought him. So it's like people always ask like, how'd you get in the UFC so fast? I was like, well, you take tough fights. You find people that just got out or just got cut and fight those guys.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. Like I was fortunate enough that my management team, I was able to fight 3 people that just got cut from the UFC.
Right.
Sherman Pendergrass, Wes Combs, and then Houston Alexander.
Gotcha.
And that's how, like, boom, boom, pow. I beat those 3 and got in.
Yeah.
Finished those 3.
Are you still pissed that Houston got his get back on you?
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Hey, it's part of the when you sign the dotted line and put your neck on the line as well. You know, it's going to go one of 2 ways, right?
Yeah,
it's W
like,
or an L.
It's so crazy. It's like, you know, I fought for years against heavyweights, the giant mother effers, and to have my orbital finally break against the 205er, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I get it.
But you know, it is what it is. He hits hard as hell, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And like that fight was the first punch of the first round. Bah! I just felt it.
Yeah, you already knew.
Right away. I just felt like my face was on fire.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, you're a fighter. I mean, I can't. Not to get scattered, but I remember Joey fought a great fight. We didn't get the W for, was it the light heavyweight against Emmanuel Newton?
Oh, yeah.
And Joey was going through all. Emmanuel, awesome stand-up guy. First of all, big ups to Emmanuel Newton, the hardcore kid. But man, you weren't the only brother that was into punk rock. I know quite a few of them, by the way. But yeah, he has a lot of the spinning back kicks and fists, and you're going right through him. Had him on the ropes, and you know, part of fighting, I'll call it. I was in the corner, was luck. Anyways, Joey didn't end up getting the belt, but I remember after that, he was holding his jaw. You were holding your jaw. I was like, "Yeah, all right, dude." You're like, whatever. Still went and ate food. I remember we were with Ruben and Eric Del Fiero. Shout out to those 2 guys too. Awesome humans. But anyways, so Joey breaks his jaw unbeknownst to him. I'm sure you had an idea about it, but I remember him just fighting through the night, probably not sleeping good, on top of his whole body being battered because it was a war. And I remember flying back into San Diego. And before he even goes home, he's like, we're getting up the 5 freeway. He's like, Brandon dropped me off at Scripps Encinitas. So this dude is such a warrior, you know. Went, fought, didn't get the outcome, still kept a level head, ate and walked around with a broken jaw, and didn't even go home or call a doctor or anything. Just was like straight from the fight, off the plane, had me drop him off. It didn't even go creature comforts or nothing, straight to the ER. But you know, as you know, dude, that's part of the process of you guys as fighters. I tell everybody I've been blessed to work with a lot of athletes of almost every sport besides underwater basket weaving. And anyways, you know, fighters, man, it's a lot of prep for that one split second that can make you or break you. Or you get caught in a gray area where you think you won, but the judges say you didn't. You know, it's a tough sport. So from that, like through your through those, what was that first time when you're like, dude, I'm gonna fight in the biggest of them all, UFC?
Oh well, that was
like what went through your. How was that feeling? Like the phone call. I don't know who called you or how that went down.
Oh, you want a funny story or not? Is so I fought Houston, and I think it was like January 12th or something like that. Houston Alexander. Finished them in the first round. And then I go home, and I'm doing my thing, hanging out with friends, partying. And I remember that night, I just literally fucking just ate a weed brownie. This is before it was legal. And I was sitting on the couch like, yeah. And then my manager calls. He's like, "How you doing? How you doing, bro?" I was like, just chilling. He's like, I need you to tell me that you still have gas in the tank." I was like, "Fuck yeah." He's like, "All right, now I need you to tell me that I'm the world's best manager." I was like, "Yeah, you're the world's best." He's like, "You're in the UFC. You fight in 7 days." I was like, "Yay!"
All stoned.
Thank
you very much.
I was like, "Oh my god!" And so then like
I love those little things, right? That before that phone call, no one would know that you were like kind of sitting back on your own little, you know, glory couch, just the pot brownies setting in, and then you're like, how quick gears can shift.
oh my god. So but
Because you were a fill-in right against Rolls, Gracie.
oh yeah, definitely 8-1 odds, 7 day notice, and took the fight, and I was able.
It was second round TKO, baby.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was could not have gone better. I passed my drug test, drank a shitload of water all the week long. That's all I did. And passed my drug test. That was all good. And then I was boom. All of a sudden, now I'm in the UFC.
How was that? So where was that at again?
That was in Vegas. That was my one and only time I ever fought in Vegas.
I know you fought everywhere around the world, and then only once in Vegas. That's the irony of that.
I know, it's cool. And more importantly too is that one and only time that I asked my mom to go watch me fight. She saw my UFC debut.
That's cool.
So that was cool. Yeah.
Shout out to you, Mama Bear.
Yeah. And so that's how it started. And I like, you don't want to know that was so crazy. It was like the whole time that I was in the UFC, like I never really like felt like that I was in like that I was good enough to be there, or like in my head I had such bad negative self-talk, like, oh man, like these are real fighters, these guys are gonna be the ones that fuck you up, Joey, like, um every fight I was like, well, if I lose the next one I'm probably done anyways, they'll probably cut me. And it's like fast forward 10 fights later, I'm there for 4 years scrapping it out, but it's like the whole damn time I was thinking like, well, this next one's probably it for me.
Yeah.
It was just like,
and then who was
I
after that?
I never really
Tim
enjoyed
Hague?
it. Yeah, Tim Hague in Canada.
Yeah.
That was a scrap.
And then the most memorable one for a lot of us too was the fight of the night against Matt Mitrione.
Yeah.
Which was still questionable, I think, for a lot of us that are obviously pro Joey, but Matt's a beast. You can't take that away from him.
That was an awesome fight, man.
It's a good accolade. Not how many people are going to go and have a UFC career or even 1 or 2 fights and even get lucky to get fight of the night.
I had 2 of those.
Yeah. That just shows you what a psychopath that you were. He still is too. Don't cross him wrong.
I know.
No.
So that was good. And
how cool was fighting Pat Barry in front of the troops? You remember that?
I mean,
I wasn't really not as like they make it sound on paper.
No, I mean, that's one fight. If out of all my fights that I've had, like the one fight that really pisses me off, because like I was doing so good, and I swear to God, like those kicks weren't hurting. I was fucking eating them, and I had it in my mind. If he kicks me in the leg, I have to punch him in the face 5 times. He kicks me once, I punch him 5 times. And that's the mindset. Just going forward, getting after it. And then it wasn't until he poked me in the eye, and then I had to like take a timeout. It was like all the adrenaline wore off, and all the pain and blood like rushed to my knee, to my leg. And I was like, oh man! And then
it's amazing how that works. The adrenals, man. You're literally painless and numbless. I just know that a little bit from doing performance coaching and strength conditioning work. Those adrenals are a whole other story.
And so it's like, once that happened, like, oh shit! And then I got beat up like the last minute of the 3rd round, and then he won the 3rd round and ultimately won the fight. But I was like, man, that's baloney. I had that fight, but whatever, all good. But yeah, it was definitely fun for sure. And yeah, man. I mean, I think like a lot of people always like bring up the Rampage fight. Rampage was my first fight in Bellator. Well, my second fight in Bellator, my first time on the second trip.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because you volleyed, right?
I fought in Bellator like one time, but it was like I said, it was early show.
Well, it's early Bellator, too.
Yeah, early Bellator. And then I fought a few more times and got into UFC. And I stayed in UFC for 4 years. I brought him 4 years. And then I lost my last one and I got cut. And then I saw Rampage was supposed to fight Tito in his debut. And then Tito fell off. And so then my manager, Manny, was able to pull the fast one and slide me in to fight Rampage on 10-day notice. And so then I fought Rampage, and that really just, whatever. I mean, was it a good shot? Yeah, of course he hit me with his left hook.
Yeah, Rampage got hammers.
He dropped me, boom, I fell with my hands on my knees, and I heard the bell. All right, I get up, I walk back to the corner, and all of a sudden the doctors come up to me, and I always remember, I was like, what the fuck? And I looked at Eric Del Fiero, my coach. He's like, Joey, calm down. We can't do anything. We can't do anything about it. Calm down. I was like, oh, man. Just had to just sit there and just accept the bullshit. But I guess, Dan Murgliata called the fight. He thought. But, I mean, it's on.
Yeah.
You can watch.
Eric is a good coach like that. I remember specifically because I had a more of an emotional tie to you. But when that happened at the Manuel Newton fight out in Michigan, I remember standing up after you'd got KO'd, right? And you were doing so well, and I think that's probably one of the hard parts. But, where I have an attachment, they have a detachment. But I remember standing up just going, F! I remember Eric going, hey, dude, just chill out. This is part of the game. It's part of the game. That's a good coach where regardless of how good they know, I just knew you on a different level.
Yeah.
We grew up together and, knowing each other as homeboys. But, I can hear what you just said, how he told that to you. It's just, but, look how successful he's been. Let's talk some highlight reels from the Alliance days. I mean, you had Murderers Row down there. Let's name them off. You had Alexander Gustafsson,
Phil Davis, Travis Brown, Brandon
Vera.
And that was my everydays. Those were who I got to who
Yeah.
I got to try to survive with every day,
Yeah, those guys. Big ups to you guys too, man.
Yeah, man. It was like it was like you got those pre-fight feelings driving down on Wednesdays and Fridays. Like you drive.
Yeah, well, you're going against,
Here we
like
go.
I said, Murderers Row. Like
Yeah.
those dudes at their heyday, and probably one of the most iconic fights ever in the UFC was Gustafsson versus Bones Jones,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
but you got to go firsthand against that beast,
Yeah.
Well, all of them,
Yeah.
Phil, everybody,
Yeah. So
Travis
that
Brown,
was-
all of them.
That's why I was like, I have to be. It's good because I always have to remind myself, like, especially now in coaching, like these kids, they're 20 years old, 24, whatever. I was like, these kids, like, they didn't come up like us, like they didn't, like, they're.
Are you trying to say this generation's soft, Joey? Now let's be honest, because I coach kids too. I mean, it's kind of what we see, but I think it's on us as leaders in our community.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys, speaking of coaching kids and being leaders, Joey's also going to be a father.
I know, crazy.
And his lady is 5 months along.
5 months.
So I'm really happy for Joey. I know how much he loves kids and what a great dad he's going to be. So I'll try not to say too much about getting choked up, but it's rad to see what you've been through, dude. And, the toxic relationships, that's for all of us, right? We're addicts, alcoholics. So the unhealthy is the healthy. The abnormal is the normal, as I like to say. So our relationships ring the same way, right? You know, we go and no harm, no foul to those that we chose to be with. But I'm so stoked that, you know, I know how much you loved raising other people's kids, basically, and being a shining light. So now you have your own coming up, you know, and I know that's going to be a big shift in the paradigm of Joey Beltran's life. And not to get off on a tangent, but as someone who loves this guy to death, that was probably one of the coolest days I've had, was when he, don't tell nobody, because, you know, I got a big mouth. But he sent me a picture that, you know, his lady's pregnant. So can't wait. We got another 4 months and some change. So what is that, an August baby?
No, July.
July baby, yeah. My math sucks.
Yeah.
But that ain't going to change. I can't wait to be an uncle, and hopefully one day, hey, my wife's inside. By the way, we're in the garage, people. We're here. We're just, if you hear like cars drive by or helicopters or weed whackers, we're just keeping it raw. Yeah, Joey. So from that, you know, let's lead up to UFC. Well, yeah. So kind of UFC. You had your final hurrah against
Maldonado.
Yeah, Maldonado, and I know with like a lot of fighters, period, no matter what promotion you're fighting for, things just kind of, depending on your wins, losses, how you feel, how the promotion feels about you. Let's not even segue, because I'd like to say I was with you at the change of events, and correct me if I'm wrong. So was it, when did we go Russia? 2017?
Yeah.
So you get
18.
2018?
Yeah. February.
Hold on. I got to double check this. I want to say.
I can't be, because I'll tell, like.
Yekaterinburg.
Yeah.
Well, I just have it in my phone. So let's look at Russia. Yeah, you're right. February 26th. So it's almost, you know, 28, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 7, 8 years to the date since we were in Russia. Yeah, because what's today? The 26th? Yeah, it is, dude. How crazy is that? Look at this.
Let me just go on record and say I've never been more honored to corner somebody than this warrior right here. Yeah, I'm getting emotional, but you know what? Nothing to date in my coaching and strength conditioning career working with athletes compares to this dude's heart right here. You can't believe it. Yep, that's the face of a warrior. I love him. It's the face of a warrior. That guy gave him everything he had and it still wasn't enough. We love you, Joey.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know how much we'll be able to get of that, but we'll let the anyways, another shout out to my boy Zach, who's the brains behind this. I'm just a hot pie hole spitting flames out of my mouth. Dude, yeah, so today is February 26th, 2014. This was February 26th, 2018.
Yeah.
So to the freaking day was the day that you kind of had a rebirth, right? Well, we talk about moral victories.
Yeah.
You went and fought Sergey Karatanov. And let me tell you guys right now, every heavyweight was always more lean, more cut, more athletic. All due respect, Joey, than Joey, right? But Joey was just that guy's like, whatever, put him in front of me, we'll fight. Never really, you know. And I think one of the coolest things you ever said was, shout out to the mental sensei, was you spend so much time making a monster out of these opponents. Why don't you have them make a monster out of you? And I think you became really good at that. Not that you weren't apprehensive or scared, but dude, we went into Russia. February, frozen Siberian tundra, a hellacious flight. If anyone's flown to the other side of the world, period, you know, like those flights. I don't care, first class. We definitely didn't. We definitely got economy. Like there was like cooking meals in these aisleways. Dang near, like one dude that was next to me didn't stop eating. It was the weirdest thing. I was like, we've been on this flight 16 hours to Moscow just to sit for 3 hours and then catch a connecting flight to Yekaterinburg. Anyways, but yeah, man, they treated us like kings. We walked around that town. That was so cool. Remember we go into those malls? It just looks like a big, like 5-story building. But then you walk in, and there's like Gucci stores.
Yeah,
like shows you how much money's there. Anyways, but yeah, man, you went in and you took Sergey to another unanimous decision, even though you lost. But So after that, Joey, I know that you're a big part of bare knuckle boxing, the very first one. Tony Lopez,
Yeah. So
the bloodbath heard around the world. Biggest thing on Twitter at the time.
I know, and was so. How did I get in the bare knuckle? So basically, like I fought the fight in Russia, wanted to continue fighting MMA, and for whatever reason, I couldn't find a fight. My coach Eric Del Fioro hit me up. He's like, "Hey, you wouldn't be interested in doing this bare knuckle stuff, would you?" I was like, "Yeah, it's whatever. It sounds fun." He's like,
What's it going to pay?
"Oh," and then he's like, "Well, they're about to sign Beck, Rowdy Beck. They're about to sign Beck, and I think I can piggyback you on it." I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." And so that's how it happens. Like that's how it happened. I got into the show, and later, a couple weeks later, I found out it was gonna be against Tony Lopez. So
Yep, you guys had bad blood together.
yeah, it was great.
What if you saw Tony in public now? Would it still be what's up?
No, that's my dude now.
Yeah, I know you guys are. You guys, hey Tony, I'll do respect. Y'all are old. I think you're still fighting out there on Indian reservations, you psycho, or something like that.
Oh man, so then
Beating up tweakers out there in the IE.
So, funny story about that whole. So, me and Tony were the swing bout. So what that means is, when we didn't have a place in the lineup.
Yeah.
So, all night long we warmed up a couple different times, but then they're like,
That's
no, you're not going. I'm like, oh my god. So, yeah. So imagine that if that fight never made it on TV, it was almost. So what a swing bout is where there's
Yeah, you have a lineup right in the
too
card.
much time in the if one fight ends early or whatever, then they'll put in the swing bout to fill up time. So that was us. And so then coincidentally, God's timing, the way it worked out is we were the second to last fight of the night, and we came out there. And honestly, man, before that the show was kind of weird. There was kind of a couple quick finishes, but it wasn't really like that cool. It was like kind of a lame show. Then me and Tony went out there and just lit the house on fire and covered in blood, super crazy. We set the standard for what a bare knuckle fight should be, and so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and so that's how that worked. And then I did it. I liked it, and a few fights later, I was able to win the bare knuckle world title. I think it was November of 2019 or something like that. Yeah, November of 2019. I won the title, and then more importantly, is that I defended the title.
Yeah,
and because up until then, like historically, like.
I don't think any heavyweight they were winning it and then handing it off.
Exactly, no heavyweight had ever defended it, and even to this day, like nobody's defended it more than once.
Yeah, I remember Chase Sherman. I talked to him a little bit before the fight just because I know out there where he lives, he's a fireman, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey Chase, I did a little bit of that, and I go up. I know I'm Joey's coach, but respect for first responders, and he's actually a cool guy. I think is he still active? Is he out there still? Yeah. I want to say he just fought on a card like a fight night or something. He's a youngster though. He's still.
Did, I think he's doing the Jorge Masvidal bare knuckle MMA.
Oh wow! So he's doing that too. Yeah. Okay, because I thought he did a UFC.
He was in the UFC for a little while.
Okay, so he was. Yeah. He would pick up fights here and there.
Definitely active for sure.
Yeah, he's a big kid, man. I remember seeing him going like, "Oh well, Joey, ain't nothing we ain't seen before. I'm tired of asking those questions. Here's this big old freaking white boy." I remember seeing him out in the lobby at what was that? Gulfport, Mississippi Arena or wherever it was at. Yeah, yeehaw. Here's a segue. We're out on this pier, and if you ever been to the Gulf of Mexico, the water like can go out for a quarter mile and like just be like knee deep. So me, Coach Adam, and Coach Jody, we go out there and Adam and Joey are hitting mitts and do what they do, and then we're at the end of this pier. We're like looking at, well, let's jump off this pier, and I remember This is the funniest part right here. I just give me a second. I got to look this up real quick because it's typical Joey, one to instigate, and I just remember what basically it turned out was we jumped off the pier. Yeah. Shut up. I go, how deep is it? Joey just says, shut up, because he doesn't care. He just wants carnage. So Jody jumps off. He jumps off, and sure enough, I think he blew his ankle out, and he had to limp around for the whole fight that night, I think. But I know where I'm all trying to check out. Joey's like, shut up, just do it for my pleasure. But those are the fun things that people don't see when you're out on fights. Like, the best part, besides a couple fights, Joey's a heavyweight, so cutting weight wasn't an issue, so we just ate whatever we wanted. Mainly out there, it was like Waffle House.
Yeah.
Waffle House. Anyways, yeah, Joey. So I remember, I'll never forget that. That's another one. When your whole journey of what it took to get. I know any fighter, all you want's a belt, right? And then granted, it depends on the promotion. Belts are cool, but I know for you, just the beauty of being able to get that. And what that meant to you, and what that meant to so many other people, Joey, that love you and have been, in your corner, whether it's on the other side of the screen. That'll be something that'll probably be probably the top of my coaching career. Just gonna hold this right here. It's just
hands up, Big J, hands up, hands up.
It don't get no better as a coach, let alone him. But I just remember everybody, Vic, the old man, Dave.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why we do what we do, right? There's such, for any athlete, but especially fighting, man, there's such just a drawn out, just trudge through the mud and the muck and mire of injury and other stuff that go on in life. And addiction, maybe you get addicted to pain pills, or any drug or alcohol to kill that pain, what fighters go through. So that'll be something that'll be great for me when you beat Chase. And then your next one was
Marcel Stabs.
Yeah, he came in. Marcel, you try to look. He was an Alabama linebacker or something. Played for Bama. He was badass, and he looked the part, dude. That dude was. He was.
Funny thing is that
that didn't mean nothing.
Not really that funny. Is that getting ready for that fight, I actually took an uppercut in the throat, like in sparring, and so for like 4 months I took like this.
Dang.
And then my voice never came back really, and even like to this day, like
crushed like a vocal cord. Or
yeah,
something.
for sure. Because even like right now, it's like if I take my time and I breathe,
yeah,
and I wet the whistle,
yeah,
then I'm okay.
Yeah,
and then I can pronounce all my words. But who the hell wants to talk like that? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like every now and then it's like I'll hear myself like slur my words, or I can't and at first I was like, oh man, I'm punchy, like fuck, too many hits in the head, I'm punchy.
Which could be true, but that doesn't matter. Who cares? That's the sacrifice.
But then my nephew's like, did you get uppercut in the throat one time? I was like, oh yeah, you're right, I did.
A little saving grace.
I was like, that's fuck. And you want to know what's funny is that before, I was pretty good at karaoke. I was a really good singer, and that was actually
self-proclaimed.
That was actually like my that was going to be my second act.
What was your go-to song?
George Michael. Wham. Wham. Everything She Wants. You can look it up on YouTube if you want.
Oh, I already know. Is this too? Can we get a riff real quick?
I can't sing anymore. That's the whole point of this sad story is that because I got fucking punched in the throat, I can't sing anymore.
Oh, this dude had to pull out Wham of all. I
man.
just love it. Did
And
you
so
watch
it's
the
like,
Wham documentary,
what,
by the way?
What are you gonna do? No, I didn't.
Oh, there was. Well, I don't know if it's still on. It was on. It was on Netflix. Yeah, because his partner in Wham, like the mom documented everything when they're before they became what they are. They were like a trippy like UK like when rap was like weird in the late 70s and 80s, and then they became obviously they're amazing musicians. Rest in peace, George Michael. But that's funny, Joey. Of course, you of all people, I was waiting for you to say something like Bruce Springsteen, Born in America.
No. So yeah, man. So it sucks. My vocal cords.
Yeah.
Worse, but I have to go to the doctor and check that out.
Yeah. Well, a couple things. So we have this amazing reigning defending champion, right? And I know that of course there's a lot of doubts in your mind, maybe. I think for anybody, but maybe with that promotion on who you were, what their idea was of a heavyweight champion, right? Obviously they've been acquired now and they have more money, and ever since you came in there and a couple other heads from the UFC, they have bigger names, but I'm not going to bring up the name, but did you get a little drunk on maybe a little fame, and because I know that you were making some relational choices. Maybe you thought it was right or it felt right at the time, as far as like you split, you moved to Miami.
Oh, well.
Now, granted, we were able to that the final retainer was against Sam Schumacher.
Yeah.
So after that final, you won the heavyweight belt against Chase. You defended it against Marcel Stamps. Then you defended it against Sam Schumacher. I know that you got in a relationship. We don't need to bring up any names, but like kind of where was your headspace at? I know, maybe you liked that, obviously the weather, and we love Coach Jason too. And I know you kind of found like another little, this guy might put a little fire back in your blood. But when you moved to Miami, were you, was that codependency? Was it?
I don't really know, man. It's just kind of like, it kind of all just happened real fast, and just kind of just like the romanticism of it, if you will. Just everything was like, oh yeah, it was really like, it was just something new, something fresh, and it was just real like something seemed like new and fresh and brand new and fun.
So you're kind of like pink clouding on it.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's perfect term. Pink, pink clouding like a motherfucker. And then unfortunately when I was out there, I started drinking again, and because the person that I was in a relationship with, she didn't really.
She wasn't sober.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And so
when she should have been, just like you should have been, but that doesn't mean things would have worked out,
whatever,
right?
But and then then it's kind of just like a slow pain, and so then
But let's say, even before that, Joey. So, what would you say to other fighters trying to date a fighter?
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, because we know that
because here's the thing. I'll go back to something that was told
to the first fighder you dated.
No, that was.
Well, what I'm saying is,
No. I'm saying about something. It was originally told to me by my first manager on our plane ride to my first fight ever. He said to me, whenever somebody comes and tells me that they want to fight or that they want to join the team, I first have to look at them and think about, okay, what's wrong with this person? And then
Shouldn't laugh, but that's
and
perfect.
then I have to think, okay, is their issue something that I can deal with and handle? Okay, and then how does their issue intertwine with everyone else's issues? Because you guys are all crazy. Nobody decides to jump and fight in a cage willingly who is not crazy. And that holds true, man. Like,
Yeah.
and like there's some of us that are more on the athlete side of things, you know. And like, yeah, you can make it you can it's a sporting contest, if you will, but I mean the majority of us are not. We're fucking nuts.
Savages.
We're
Yeah.
nuts. We're savages. We're like from another time.
Yeah.
They were like reincarnated in modern times.
That's a good point. I always say Joey Beltran's one of the last gladiators that walks among us, because if you look at cage fighting today, or since its inception to the mainstream, what was back in the Roman days, right, was everyone would go to a Coliseum and watch people slice each other and kill each other, and lions pop out, and, you know, just like the movie Gladiator. I mean, it's very, you have to have some screws loose, but you have to want to go do it too. But also the flip side of what we're talking about is, yeah, you know, when you kind of match that intensity with that intensity as far as like dating somebody inside that same realm, I'm sure it's not easy. And like you said, do you want your crazy mixed with their crazy generally?
Yeah. And ultimately, I think that's the perfect way to put it, is like our crazies just didn't match up. And unfortunately, like, right around like the, you know, on a normal relationship, right around 6 months is like usually when you start to really get to know somebody and start to like get used to their twerks or their tweets.
Yeah, you see sides, you just are like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's when you decide, like, I don't want to date this person. Well, unfortunately for us, like, we got married after 4 months of meeting.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a recipe for disaster. It wasn't really a surprise to me.
Well, I also know your production levels went down, if we were to be completely honest.
Oh, duh, yeah.
Because I knew here you are trying to fight bare knuckle and then uphold some standard that you'd stemmed from, because, you know, you guys were just maybe had been dating for a little bit by the time you defended your last spot when you'd fought Sam Schumacher. But by that time, I think, you know, at least those that were close to you saw kind of like how that scenario with her was starting to kind of permeate into your level of being able to get ready for the next fight. And then let's be honest too, Joey, I think this goes for a lot of fighters. There's a time shelf for everybody. Some's longer than others. Yeah. Some will go fight in other promotions. Like, you know, you were doing that well before what it is now. Yeah, exactly. And the options there is now, right? Like, look how many guys go to bare knuckle now. I know they have big investors now, so they can throw money at people. But those guys, like, for instance, Luke Rockhold, right? He came in. Mike Perry does this thing. That's Mike Perry's obviously found a home there. He's just that kind of, you know, crazy. But Luke's like, in an interview, you know, I don't care how much money you give me, I'm never going to go do that again. You know, so bare knuckle is different. But everyone understands the difference between bare knuckle and anything else is everybody, since the dawn of man, understands a fist fight. And I think that's the cool part about bare knuckle is, oh, it's so barbaric. Well, there's a science to it a lot of people don't realize, and Joey, you can attest to this, where if you want to throw 100% and you hit the crown of somebody's head, you're going to break your hand. You don't have a glove on. You could break your hand with a glove on. So you have to be precise. Also, some of the cool things that Joey has taught me with bare knuckle is if you come in and you throw a mean hook and you Charlie horse somebody in their arm or their forearm, for one, the swelling, you have a hard time tensing that arm, but that just causes damage and that comes down and then you can start doing work. So I always have to correct people on some certain things, right, from a scientific coaching standpoint and some of the stuff you taught us where, you know, sometimes it's okay to throw a 50%er to set up for a good shot. Or if you throw 50%, 30% the whole fight, you're chopping down the tree, right?
Yeah.
I always thought that was pretty, I love the backside of that, where it's not just, then again, you got people in there throwing haymakers too.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it. Emotion takes over. And then there goes your hand. I remember how many, I call them Mickey Mouse gloves, those big, just ballooned hands afterwards. Like, who was rad, was crazy, and give him a little shout out, was it Diego? Was his name Diego? Remember he fought on the card with you? I think he maybe fought in 2. He's a San Diego dude, had the crazy tattoos.
Diego, yeah.
Yeah, did
Diego
the artwork.
Garrido, yeah.
Yeah, Diego Garrido?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he was rad, but dude, him and
Tom Schoaf.
Dude, Tom Schoaf and Diego Garrido, if you guys looked up some of those bare knuckle fights, those dudes they were just would break themselves. Like some of the Diego's face got this big, and I didn't know if his head was going to pop like a honeydew melon. Anyways, but that's the crazy. Joey, and just, kind of delve into, I know that you'd battled some of your demons with addiction and alcoholism, and like you said, and I said early in the podcast, not every fighter is a drug addict or an alcoholic, but there's a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics that are fighters. When you're battling that stuff and you find yourself alone in a hotel room or a motel room, and, tell people what it takes to get out of it. Because I think a lot of people put themselves on an island like they're alone and no one understands. But I know for you it was come to grips, realization that you just needed to reach out. Yeah. And maybe just give us some insight on,
Yeah, so it's like the way I explain it, like the Cliff Notes version is like, so obviously like did drugs and alcohol my whole life, for lengthy periods of time, and then but once I got into fighting, I was like on a one track mind, like, I'm gonna do this. So for like the first 3 years of fighting, I was like basically I was so laser focused on getting to the next level that I just like white knuckled it, as they say, just white knuckled it, just so bright, let's go. And even if like I would drink or whatever, like if I fought on Friday, I would drink Friday, and then in the gym I was back in the gym on Monday, and that's how the grind was, nonstop for 3 years. Then I got to UFC. Now I'm in the UFC, and all of a sudden, like, now we're in Vegas. Now we're like partying. We have table service, and people slipping you bags, slipping you other stuff, and you're like, oh shit, and like awoke the beast. So then it's like you start making compromises with yourself. Okay, like I'll go hard and I'll party and do all this shit, but as long as I cut it off 8 weeks before the fight, I'm good. I'm gravy. I'm good. Okay. And then 8 weeks turns to 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks turn to 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks turns to 2, and then like I remember like like my last couple Bellator fights, like I was fucking around like the week of the fight.
Yeah.
So it was like that's what it was, and so I actually went in 2017. I went to rehab. I went to rehab for 4 months. And
I remember that. Where'd you go again?
The Fellowship Center in Escondido.
Esco. I remember that.
Yeah, and so when I went to Fellowship Center and really, really like started, because I had been to AA meetings, I had been to them and sat in, but I never really did AA. I never really worked the program. I never really had a sponsor. I never really did anything. And so then when I went to freaking rehab and I came out, I started doing really good, and then fresh out of rehab is when I had that fight in Russia, and then I started fighting in bare knuckle, and then everything started doing good. And I was sober for a lot of that, and then it wasn't until fast forward, coincidentally or not, coincidentally in Miami, it's like I started drink one beer at dinner. One beer at dinner doesn't hurt anybody. One beer, I'll call you 2 beers at dinner. It doesn't hurt anybody. Okay, well, I'm not getting drunk. I'm not getting blackout drunk because I was always a blackout drunk. Always, growing up, like in high school and shit. So the fact that I'm not getting blackout drunk, really, am I really drinking? It's like, no.
Yeah, that's where you made the peace treaty with your illness, right?
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not getting blacked out drunk.
And so, like, yeah, man. So it's like, it's not surprising that like, everything around me just started crumbling. And then, so it's always been like you just make those little bargains with yourself, and like, I don't need to stop all the way, but as long as if I slow down, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, man. So, so here I am now in the present time. It's like I feel really good, really strong in my sobriety, and I hit a couple little meetings every now and then at lunchtime, and I'm just kind of like, but in my mindset, like, there's a part in the big book where it says the different types of alcoholics.
Yeah.
And one of them is the psychopath who constantly makes, I forgot the exact, but it's the psychopath who makes time and time again what's the word?
Like insanity?
Oh no, but it said, but he never makes a decision. A psychopath that will never make a decision about actually stopping.
Right.
I forget the word. I'm sure someone will tell me that. But that was me. I never made a decision. But now, going in my life, I'm comfortable. I've been through it enough times that I can say honestly, comfortably, like, yeah, I'm never gonna drink again. Like,
Yeah.
my kid will never see me drink.
Yeah.
And and also now I'm armed with skill set. Like, whereas before, like, I didn't really have skill set. I didn't really know, like, if I ever really feel like squirrely, pick up the phone, call somebody.
Yeah.
Don't
Tools
wait.
in the toolbox.
Exactly.
Well, how many phone calls you've picked up of mine or I picked up of yours, or we've cried together,
Exactly.
and walked through that darkness together.
Exactly. It's like I feel very confident and comfortable with myself and the journey that I've gone on. Like,
Yeah.
I've had, it's not something I'm bragging about. I've had 2 failed marriages. It's like I've had all these trials and tribulations. I've had world titles. I've lost world titles. I've had a gang of money. I've lost a gang of money. Like here I am today. And I'm comfortable.
And you got a kid on the way.
I
You got a cool
Rico
lady
coming. Yeah, I got
What are you gonna name him?
Federico.
Federico.
We'll call him Rico.
Rico.
And so then it's funny because when Olivia, Denise's daughter, when Olivia has a kid, then he'll be Uncle Rico.
Yeah. You want to see me throw that football up in those mountains over there? Well, Joey, from a guy that's walked a journey with you, and you've walked a journey through my ups and downs, seeing what you've gone through, seeing where you're at now, you're leading. I think the beauty of combat sports, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, especially for the youngster, for one, if they have a bad home life, it gives them a family. If they're lacking direction, it'll give them guidance. If they're unstable, it'll give them discipline. And most importantly, out of all those, to me, what it's done for so many people, including us, is it gave us confidence. When you can go in there, even on a light sparring day, and you can mix it up and get out of there and feel good about the adjustments you've made, fighting through that perseverance on hard sparring too, which I've done with a lot of you guys. I can't say I've ever fought professionally, but I like to tell people I fought in a cage on and off for 10 years. It was called the California State Prison System, where there was no rules in there. But to kind of circle that back in, what you do for the youth and so many people and building their confidence and maybe giving them a shot at a career, and we all know how hard that is in combat sports. To see you, here we are on a Monday, to see you yesterday walk into church and have you as my first podcast guest, a brother, a friend, a confidant. I appreciate your time, Joey. You guys check out Joey. He's Joey Beltran MMA on Instagram. He's coaching and teaching and training people over at the Compound Fighting Gym in Oceanside. and we'll put all that stuff in there. Make sure you like and subscribe. And Joey, before we finish, this is the Pros and Cons podcast. Give us some pros and some cons to the fight world, which is probably self-explanatory. So give us some pros first.
Oh man, I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's fun. You can punch somebody in the face and not get in trouble. It's actually encouraged. You definitely have access to that instant gratification if you're out for that sort of stuff. Also, too, the other side of it is like you to work towards a goal and to work towards something for months at a time and then find success at the end of it is just it's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome feeling for sure.
Nice. And give us some cons, which are probably self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you can get hurt. There's that whole thing. Definitely like life. Life altering consequences to like how it can happen in that cage or that ring. Mistakes. The mistakes that are made in the actual fight or leading up to the fight that can last you for a lifetime. And dealing with the fans and just
yeah, try not to let it bug you.
Yeah, the hecklers or the keyboard warriors, all that stuff. Yeah, it sucks, but at the end of the day, it's like just don't listen to it.
Yeah. So any last closing words of advice for anybody in life and in general? And you want to tell anybody besides that, you're going to be a dad soon and you're coaching at Compound, just any words of encouragement to those out there still suffering maybe from our disease of drugs and alcohol?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like that, as far as, if we're struggling, like reach out, man, reach out. You don't have to do this alone. Yeah. That's one thing that I've learned is you do not have to do this alone. And as far as any young fighters or even fighters in general, like have 100% commitment. If you're going to do a boxing match, a bare knuckle, or a MMA fight, like know exactly who you are and what it is that you want to do. Commit 100% and then go out there and do it.
Amen, brother. Well, you guys heard it here. Episode 1, Pros and Cons Podcast, the fallible human experience. My brother, I love him. Great human, great athlete, great man in his community, and going to be a great father, Joey Beltran. Good job, Joey. Tell him how you really feel.